My ex-wife left me 8 years ago with just a letter saying I didn't want kids. Then she showed up recently with a boy claiming I'm the father, but the math didn't add up. So when I demanded a paternity test, she got her entire family to attack me online until the results proved I was right all along. I, 38 male, am a forensic accountant, and if there is one thing I have learned after spending 15 years staring at spreadsheets and financial audits, it is that numbers do not have feelings. They do not lie to protect you, and they certainly do not wake up one day and decide to destroy your entire reality. My life is built on precision and identifying discrepancies, so when things do not add up, I notice immediately. Unfortunately, my ex-wife never really understood that concept. My life was quiet and structured until about 3 months ago. To give you the background, 8 years ago, I came home from a late night at the firm during tax season to a completely silent house. The closet was half empty, and my wedding photo was face down on the nightstand. There was a single sheet of notebook paper on the kitchen island that simply said she could not do this anymore because I was obsessed with work, and she knew deep down I did not want kids. That was it. No conversation and no counseling. Just a cold, hard exit. I filed for divorce in absentia after hiring a PI who tracked her to a different state but could not get her to talk. The divorce was finalized, and I spent the next 7 years rebuilding myself. I buried myself in work, expanded my firm, and eventually found a rhythm. I was solitary, but stable. Then the stability shattered. I was in my office reviewing an audit for a construction client when my receptionist buzzed me, sounding incredibly uneasy, saying there was a woman here to see me, claiming it was urgent family business and that she had a child with her. My stomach dropped. I walked out to the lobby, and there she was, my ex-wife. She looked older and harder around the edges, wearing worn-out jeans and a tired expression that did not match the vibrant woman I remembered. Standing next to her was a boy, clinging to her leg, looking terrified. She looked down at the boy, then back at me with tear-filled eyes and said, "This is your son." The lobby went silent. My receptionist pretended to type, but I knew she was listening. I looked at the boy. Dark hair and brown eyes. He could be anyone's kid, but my brain immediately snagged on the discrepancy. I repeated the words, "my son," not as a question, but just testing the weight of the lie. She stepped closer, lowering her voice to a whisper, saying she was pregnant when she left, and she knew I would try to talk her out of it or worse. She said she did not want to trap me because I was so focused on my career, but things had gotten hard. She told me she lost her job, and the boy deserved to know his father and deserved support. I looked at the kid again and crouched down, keeping a safe distance. I asked him how old he was. My ex-wife stiffened and tried to answer for him, but I cut her off sharply, asking him again. The boy looked up at his mom, then at me, and said he was 6. I stood up, and the math clicked into place like a deadbolt. I told her, "He is 6. She corrected quickly, saying he's almost 7 and that he's small for his age because he was a preemie. I raised my voice just enough to carry, telling her, "You left 8 years ago. If you were pregnant when she left, that child would be 7, turning 8. If he is 6, even if he is almost 7, the timeline is impossible unless she was pregnant for 18 months. Her face flushed. The sad wilting flower act evaporated instantly, replaced by the entitlement I suddenly remembered from our worst arguments. She asked if I was seriously doing math right now, and told me to look at him because he looks just like me. She claimed she ran away and didn't keep track of the dates perfectly, but she knew who the father is. I reminded her we had not slept together for 3 months before she left because I was working 80-hour weeks and she was sleeping in the guest room. She shouted that I was a liar and trying to weasel out of this because I'm cheap. She pointed at my office and said I'm sitting here in a fancy office while my son is starving. I told her calmly that I wanted a court-ordered paternity test from an accredited lab with a chain of custody. She screamed that she did not need a test to tell her the truth and grabbed the boy's hand, yanking him toward the door, telling me I would be hearing from her lawyer and everyone else. She stormed out, and I walked back to my office with my heart hammering and immediately called my attorney. My lawyer is the kind of guy who smiles when things get ugly. I told him everything, and he advised me not to engage. He said to let her make the first move, because if she wants support, she has to file, and once she files, we demand the DNA. But my ex-wife did not want to go through the courts immediately. She wanted a payout, and she wanted it fast. So she decided to try the court of public opinion first. The next morning, my phone started buzzing at 6 a.m. I had notifications from Facebook, LinkedIn, Google reviews, and even Nextdoor. Her sister had posted a long, tear-jerking narrative on a local community page with 50,000 members. It was a masterpiece of fiction. She wrote that her poor sister finally built up the courage to confront her abuser yesterday. She claimed I abandoned her when she was pregnant 8 years ago, forcing her to raise her son alone in poverty. She said when she went to ask for help for medical bills for the boy, I laughed in her face and claimed the child wasn't mine. She attached a photo of me cropped from my company website side by side with a blurry photo of the boy. The comments were brutal. People called me scumbag and said they should review bomb my business. Some even suggested paying me a visit. By noon, my firm's Google rating had dropped from 4.9 to 2.1. Dozens of one-star reviews appeared, all referencing my lack of morals and deadbeat status. My partners called an emergency meeting. They were supportive but concerned, saying this affects the bottom line and I needed to fix this. I felt cornered. It wasn't just my ex-wife, it was her mother, her sister, and a legion of internet strangers who felt entitled to destroy my life based on a lie. They were messaging my clients. Her sister even posted my home address, encouraging people to drive by and shame me. I called my lawyer and told them they're torching my reputation and we needed to stop this. He said, now we move. We filed a petition to establish non-paternity and a suit for defamation and tortious interference with business relations. But the paternity test was the key. Once that came back negative, the defamation suit would become undeniable. We filed the next day and served my ex-wife at her mother's house. The response from her camp was escalation. She sent me a direct email, which I forwarded to my lawyer, telling me to drop the lawsuit and give her $50,000 for back support and $3,000 a month, or she would tell the news I hit her. She said she had friends who would lie for her and that I could not win this. That email was a gift because it was extortion. A week later, I came out to my car to find deadbeat key into the driver's side door and my tires slashed. I installed cameras that day. 2 nights later, I caught her brother-in-law throwing a brick through my front window. I sent the footage to the police and they arrested him for vandalism, but he made bail and claimed he was manslaughter.
Defending his family. The harassment was relentless. I could not sleep and was checking the perimeter of my house at 3 a.m. with a baseball bat. But I kept my mouth shut online. I did not respond to the comments and didn't defend myself. I let them dig the hole deeper. Finally, the court date for the DNA test order arrived. My ex-wife tried to delay, claiming she did not have a car, so my lawyer sent an Uber. Then she claimed the boy was sick. The judge was irritated by the delay tactics and the highly publicized nature of the dispute, so he ordered her to appear within 24 hours or face a bench warrant. She showed up at the lab the next day. I was there with my lawyer. She looked furious, not scared. She hissed at me in the lobby, saying I was going to regret this, and when it comes back positive, she is going for full custody, and I will only see him on weekends, but I will pay for everything. I told her if it is mine, I will take responsibility, but we both know the calendar. She snapped back, saying calendars don't matter and that feelings matter because he feels like my son. That was the moment I knew for sure. She had convinced herself that because she needed me to be the father, I was the father. It was a level of entitlement that defied logic. She believed reality should bend to her desperation. We did the swabs and the chain of custody was watertight. The lab techs sealed the kits in front of us. The wait for the results was 5 business days. In that time, her mother went on a local podcast and told the host that I had forced her daughter to get an abortion years ago, which contradicted the abandonment story, but nobody cared about consistency. She also claimed I was hiding assets offshore. My clients were calling me asking if they should pull their accounts. I had to show them the court filings to keep them calm. I calculated the lost revenue at roughly $45,000 in just 3 weeks. On day 5, the email from the lab arrived. I opened it with my lawyer on speakerphone. Probability of paternity, 0.000%. I did not cheer or laugh. I just felt a massive, crushing weight lift off my chest. My lawyer said, "Okay, now we go nuclear." We did not just send the results to her. We filed an emergency motion for summary judgment on the paternity case, which was granted immediately. But that was just the defense. The offense was the defamation suit. We amended the complaint to include the podcast, the Facebook posts, the Google reviews, and the vandalism. We had the DNA test proving the central premise of their attacks was a biological impossibility. We had the extortion email. We had the video of her brother-in-law. We served them all, my ex-wife, her sister, her mother, and the brother-in-law. The discovery phase was brutal for them. We subpoenaed her financial records, and it turned out the emergency medical bills for the boy did not exist. She was in debt to a predatory lender and needed cash fast. We also subpoenaed the boy's birth certificate. He was born 6 years and 2 months ago, almost 2 full years after we separated. The father was listed as unknown. But here was the kicker. We subpoenaed her old phone records, which she had not deleted from the cloud. We found texts from the time of the conception. She was dating a guy named Rick. Rick was a bartender who had moved to Florida. The deposition was where she broke. We had her in a conference room under oath. My lawyer slid the birth certificate and the DNA results across the table. He asked her, since she stated under oath in her petition for support that I was the only possible father and stated online that I abandoned my child, yet the DNA says I am not the father and the birth certificate says the child was born 2 years after we separated, who was the father? She started crying. Not the fake tears from the lobby, but ugly, panicked sobbing. She said she did not know, and that Rick left and then there was a guy from the gym. She said she just needed help, and that I have so much money I would not even miss it. She shouted that I owe her for the years she wasted on me. My lawyer asked if I owe her for a child that is not mine. She screamed that she owes me for emotional support because she is a mother and she is struggling. She asked why am I the victim when I have everything. There it was, the core of the entitlement. She believed my success was a resource she had a right to harvest simply because she was failing. We did not settle. I refused. I wanted it on the public record. The judge was merciless. Because they had maliciously attacked my business and reputation based on a verified lie, the damages were tripled. Her sister and her were found liable for defamation per se. The damages were assessed at $150,000 for reputational harm and lost business. Then there was $25,000 for intentional infliction of emotional distress. They were ordered to pay my legal fees, which were nearing $40,000. They were also ordered to post a court-approved apology on every platform they had used to smear me, keeping it pinned for 1 year. And I got a permanent protective order for me and my business. She filed for bankruptcy and lost her car. She had to move in with her mother, who was also facing financial ruin because she had co-signed on her loans and was named in the lawsuit. The brother-in-law took a plea deal for the vandalism and is on probation. But I wasn't done. I took the court judgment, redacted the sensitive info about the child, and posted it on my firm's website and LinkedIn with a simple caption saying, "Truth is a matter of fact, not feeling, and integrity matters." The local news picked it up, running a story about a local accountant vindicated by DNA evidence in an online harassment case. The same community page that torched me had to eat crow, and the comments flipped. She became a pariah in our town. She tried to go to the grocery store and people would stare. The shame she tried to weaponize against me boomeranged back with 10 times the force. The last I heard, she's working 2 retail jobs to pay off the garnishments on her wages. She tried to reach out once through a mutual friend asking if I would have mercy and drop the debt if she apologized in person. I told the friend the math does not work because the cost of her actions exceeds her ability to pay, but that is not an error I am willing to correct. I did feel bad for the kid, though, as he's innocent in this. I set up a small anonymous trust for him that he can access when he's 18, strictly for education. She will never know it came from me. It's the only variable in this equation that I allowed to be driven by emotion. It's been 3 months since the judgment, and my business is back to 5 stars. I'm dating a lawyer I met during the proceedings. Life is quiet again. The lesson here is if you're going to try to ruin a man's life with a lie, make sure he's someone who calculates risk for a living, and never ever assume you are entitled to someone else's life just because you wrecked your own. If you enjoyed watching the math of karma balance out in real time, go ahead and subscribe, because I promise the only things I will calculate are satisfying endings.